Coming up, a jam-packed edition of Tider Insider TV tonight. We'll give you an 8-day recap, plus talk about Alabama's historic spring recruiting haul this past weekend. We got a lot going on. We'll get it started right now on TITV.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Carrie Harris.
It was a beautiful day on Saturday for A-Day and a nice ceremony for 3 former Alabama football players who were part of some of the most successful teams in Alabama history. C.J. Mosley, A.J. McCarron, and Kevin Norwood took their place on the Walk of Fame, their handprints and footprints put in the concrete as permanent captains at Denny Chimes. What a day for them, and what a day for Alabama football. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Our program presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, proud bottlers of Pepsi-Cola products like one of my favorites, Pepsi Next. All that great Pepsi flavor, only 60 calories per 12-ounce can. That's 2/3 less sugar than regular Pepsi. But you don't give up anything in the taste department. Well, Rodney, we have, as I already said, got a lot to cover, and we'll start with our Tuscaloosa Tractor top story.
The best always rise to the top. It's time for the TITV top story, presented by Tuscaloosa Tractor.
A-Day, what can you say? At a lot of schools, a spring football game is just a glorified practice. But at Alabama, 70+ thousand showed up again on Saturday to watch the white team beat the Crimson team 17-13. Honestly, Rod, it wasn't a very exciting game. It was 0-0 at halftime. But Nick Saban said afterwards that that's all part of the plan. Alabama didn't want to show too much.
We really limit what we do on offense. We really limit what we do on defense. And we really don't try to feature players. I'm very encouraged by the attitude that we have on our team, and certainly looking forward to, working with this group and us improving over the summer and, getting a great start to the season next year when we start fall camp.
A look at some of the numbers, and as you might guess, reflected on what Coach said, it wasn't a huge day for offensive players, although T.J. Yeldon, 95 yards and a touchdown, and his 3rd consecutive MVP award for the spring football game. That is something to be proud of and shows you what a great football player is T.J. Yeldon. Rodney, let's talk about it. You heard Nick Saban just say, and listen, I'm not going to knock the way other schools do it. There's a lot of different ways to do a spring game, but this one is not designed for entertainment purposes. As he stated, it's not designed for players, individual players, to put up big numbers. It is designed for the coaches to get an accurate portrayal of what these players are going to do in a game-like circumstance.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, Gary, the way you described it. And, you look back over at A-Day, Gary, especially since Nick Saban's been here, and kind of look at the games. It went according to those games that we've seen since 2007. And, somebody posted on TiderInsider.com today, in fact, you look back at the 2009, the team that went to 14-0, when you watch them in the A-Day game, that was a 14-7 game. Nobody really had a clue at that time that this team, would win the national championship if you just base that on A-Day.
Having said that, there were some individuals that stuck out. Let's start with the offense. I already mentioned Yeldon, and Derrick Henry's a heck of a football player. So is Kenyon Drake. So is Tenpenny. So are Tyron Jones. But let's be clear on this. T.J. Yeldon's gotten it done in the SEC. He's got over 2,000 yards rushing his first 2 seasons. He's going to be a high draft pick in the NFL draft. He's still the starting running back.
Yeah, I tell you, Gary, and also some other guys that maybe people haven't talked about as much. I thought Cooper Bateman really handled himself well. I mean, maybe his numbers in terms of completion percentage, he had a few drops, so, that kind of hurt him there. But I thought he really handled himself well. I think he's come a long way, a lot farther than what I had kind of expected. And I thought a couple of the young receivers that really stood out. Darius Stewart made a couple of really good catches, showed a lot of good concentration. You remember on that one where it was kind of tipped up in the air. I thought he really looked good, and I thought that Robert Foster had a good day.
And defensively, Jonathan Allen, Tim Williams, 2 explosive pass rushers, a lot of size and athleticism on that side of the ball. you know, it looks just like a typical Alabama defense to me.
Yeah, it does. DJ Petway, I thought he really looked good. And, you know, some of the other guys, I thought Reggie Ragland jumped out quite a bit, you know, and that was really good to see because, you know, you need somebody in the middle to go with Trey DePriest, and I thought that Reggie Ragland really, you know, he was active.
All right, more football later on in the program. But the other big story over the weekend was the gymnastics team and its opportunity to win a 7th national championship at the BJCC. Sarah Patterson's ladies had a great start on Friday, advancing to the Super Six with one of the meet's highest scores, but trouble came Saturday down the stretch. Leading into the final rotation, Alabama was in good shape at the Tide, fell twice on the balance beam, meaning they had to count a fall, and that left the door open for Florida and Oklahoma to steal the title. That's right, 2 champions. They tied. Sarah Patterson, though, remained proud of this team, saying, you know, they won a couple of national championships, the seniors did, and just said they were a joy and a pleasure to coach.
They have given it their all season, and I've worked with a lot of women over 36 years, and this is one of the most amazing groups that I've been with. And while we're disappointed in not winning a national championship, I hope nobody would be disappointed in these great ladies.
Here's what it looked like. Alabama finished 4th behind the co-champions Oklahoma, Florida. LSU was 3rd. Kim Jacob did take home the all-around championship, so obviously congratulations to her and another great season for Alabama gymnastics. Much like football, they're in the hunt for a national championship every year, it seems. Well, much more to come on Tider Insider TV, including maybe a little difference of opinion between 2 former Alabama quarterbacks. We'll explain. And next, Rodney breaks down the impressive haul of new commitments for Alabama's signing class of 2015. How will they fit in at the capstone if they do go ahead and sign in February? We'll break it down. Plus, coming up, we'll welcome your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There on the screen, you see the information on how you can get in touch with us. Interact with Tider Insider TV right now. Go ahead and give us a call, send us an email, or contact us on social media. We want to hear from you. We'll be right back with the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The award-winning Tider Insider Television will return right after this. Anthony Grant not done bringing in talent for next season. Alabama picking up a basketball commitment. Former Gadsden City High School forward Jeff Garrett became Coach Grant's 4th signing in the class of 2014 and the 2014-2015, and the 3rd one from Alabama, the 6'7" wingman, averaged 18 points and 10 boards during his senior season, which he played at Oldsmar School down in Florida. Really athletic kid, and should be a big help for Alabama basketball. But basketball certainly wasn't the only sport to have recruiting success this past weekend, Rodney. Far from it. In what some have called a historic haul of top-rated prospects, Alabama got commitments from 4 top 100 players shortly after Saturday's 8A game. We're going to break them down for you, starting, Rodney, with the cornerback out of New Jersey, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Long, great feet, can run, could probably play offense. I mean, this guy's arguably as good a defensive back as there is in the country.
Yeah, he's rated really highly, Gary. I think, you know, most people consider him top 5 or better at that position. And again, he can play so many different positions in the secondary. He's so versatile and, you know, just a great athlete. And, you know, he has family here in the state of Alabama, so that connection certainly helped. And, again, Alabama's tradition and history under Nick Saban for developing defensive backs certainly played a key role here.
All right, let's take a look at the numbers on Fitzpatrick. Great size. You see a 5-star, according to Rivals.com, ranked as the 2nd best corner in the country. And, again, Rod, I mean, you never can relax in recruiting, but they had a great haul on paper of cornerbacks in this past class. But now you bring a guy in like Fitzpatrick who potentially could play very, very early in his career.
Yeah, and again, he's very athletic. You mentioned that, Gary, and versatile. He can play so many different spots in the secondary. And, you know, Gary, great players, they're really not afraid of competition.
At all. You know, Alabama through the years has done a great job of cherry picking in the state of Mississippi. They might not sign great numbers from the Magnolia State, but a lot of the guys they sign are impact players. I really like the linebacker, Theo Lewis. I mean, you're talking about a downhill linebacker that is still learning the position, Rodney, but he hits like a truck. And Leo Lewis is a guy that just really, really can play.
Yeah, he is, Gary. And again, he's the #1 rated inside linebacker in the country at this point, and top prospect in the state of Mississippi according to most. And he's a guy that Alabama's kind of been in on for quite some time. And his visit here over the A-Day, again, you talk about the importance of A-Day, and I think having these guys on campus, allowing them an opportunity to see kind of the game day atmosphere, paid big dividends.
One thing about Leo Lewis from Brookhaven, the state of Mississippi, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, they do not like losing prospects out of state, so they're going to continue to recruit him very heavily.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier about how successful Alabama's been through the years recruiting Mississippi, but it's kind of been a little bit of a dry spell in terms of high school kids out of that state in recent years. But it looks like, with the commitment of Lewis, Alabama's going to have a little bit more success.
I stated that Fitzpatrick, arguably the best cornerback prospect in the country. Well, you know what? Calvin Ridley might be the best wide receiver prospect in the country out of the state of Florida right now. He committed on Saturday.
Yeah, he's one of them, and he's an excellent player. He's not real big in terms of, he's only about 170 pounds there. You see him, he's a lean kid, but he's a playmaker. When he gets the ball in his hands, he makes things happen, and it was really with Calvin Ridley, and we're going to talk about his teammate in a minute, Sean Burgess-Becker, but those two guys kind of Alabama, Miami, been that way all along. A lot of people didn't expect them to commit this early. They got here again on A-Day, and they went ahead and made the decision. And again, I think that the impact, of being here and having the opportunity to see game day atmosphere.
Sometimes we use the term package deal, and it's negative because in a lot of cases, there's one great player, and then the thought is you take the teammate to help get the great player. But in this case, these two guys are both dynamic. Sean Burgess-Becker, in his own right, is a terrific prospect.
Yeah, it's a package deal only because both these guys, they grew up together. They've been playing since they were in the 3rd grade together. They wanted to stay together. So from that perspective, it's a package deal, but it's not one to get the other. It was, both these guys are legitimate big-time talents.
You saw the numbers on Ridley. Burgess-Becker probably projects on the defensive side of the ball in college.
Well, and he's a great receiver too, but I think at Alabama he'll probably play in the secondary. He has all those tools, and Alabama needs safeties, and I think when you look at him, he's certainly going to fit the bill.
All right, one final question in regards to this recruiting class, and you followed it for a long time, and we've seen some days late in the recruiting process maybe where a school would pick up 2 or 3 4 big commitments in one day. For this time of the year, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah, it's highly unusual. Yeah. I mean, I don't recall anything like it. Again, I think it's very highly unusual. I remember a few years ago at A-Day, Alabama got Clinton Dix, who was extremely highly regarded, and LaMichael Fanning was also highly regarded at the time, and they got Jabril Washington on that same day, Gary. But really nothing that really kind of compares overall to this. Now, again, we're talking about April.
Right.
And you mentioned the state of Mississippi. They're certainly going to continue to recruit Leo Lewis there. Down in South Florida, Calvin Ridley, Sean Burgess-Becker, no question about it. I mean, those guys are going to, it's certainly, we're talking about almost 10 months away. So it's going to be, it's going to be a chore to hold on to these guys, but I think Alabama's certainly in good shape.
And Alabama has an ace in the hole when it comes to South Florida, and that's Mario Cristobal. What a job he's done recruiting that.
He really has. And, Gary, he's got a great reputation down there. He's a great recruiter. And, the one thing about it, when you talk to people that are really don't have a kind of a dog in the fight, so to speak, I'm talking about high school coaches down there that really just kind of want their kids to go to the best place for them. They really like Mario Cristobal.
All right. Tough to top that weekend. Could baseball and softball do it in their own way? We'll talk about the weekends those programs had coming up. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, give us a ring, 205-348-WVUA, 348-9882. Phone lines are open. You can get through now. You can also send us an email or reach us on Twitter. Our BJ Milliken is checking that Twitter account. You get your question in there to hashtag Tiger Insider TV, and we'll get it on the air for you. All right, stick around. We'll be back with more Tiger Insider Television after these messages. It wasn't a perfect weekend for Alabama baseball in Knoxville, but boy, was it close. The Tide took home wins on Friday and Saturday before losing a 9-8 heartbreaker on Sunday. Still, though, they win the series and remain at number 8 in the country. All right, time to take some phone calls, Rodney. Let's start it off by going over to Cordova and talking to John. Hey, John, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, my question today is after watching the A-Day game, which one do you think will be our best pick for quarterback?
Well, you know, I know that's a popular question right now, and we're honest with you on this show, and I'll let Rodney speak for himself. You know, I still like Blake Sims. I mean, I think he's a great kid. I think he has competed hard. I think he's done everything that he's been asked in whatever role he's been asked to do it in. I'm impressed with Cooper Bateman's potential going forward, but I still believe that Jacob Coker is going to be the starting quarterback. That's my opinion.
Well, you know, again, I think that to judge, and again, I know a lot of fans out there judge Blake Sims by what they saw at A-Day, and even Coach Saban said afterwards, it's really not fair because they're limited in what they do.
I agree.
In every respect, and, you know, he's had a great spring. He's worked extremely hard. He's done everything he, you know, could possibly do to improve himself. With that said, you know, I kind of have to agree with Gary. I think that the odds-on favorite, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, is that Jacob Coker will probably eventually win the job. And again, that's nothing against any of the other guys, especially Blake Sims. I think he's going to have a very valuable role on this team. And, you know, he may be the starter. I mean, who knows? Again, you're asking for an opinion, and that's all we really can give.
All right, let's go down to Moundville and talk with Dale. Hey, Dale, what's going on?
Hey, guys. I was at the ball game Saturday, and first of all, I'd like to say I think the defensive line looked outstanding.
Agreed.
Bo Davis has really done a great job. But I heard a lot of grumbling, too, about the quarterback situation, and I started looking at the schedule across Alabama's schedule this year, and I was just trying to figure out what team would have a quarterback other than maybe Auburn, and I thought maybe Ole Miss, but that guy, Bo Wallace, hadn't done very much against them in his past. What quarterback would have done an any better job against Alabama's defense, and you couldn't tell the difference between the first defense and the second defense. Who would have done a better job than the Cooper Bateman did?
All right, Dale, right. I'm impressed with Cooper Bateman's potential. I'm impressed with the amount of improvement that he's already shown. And I know Rodney and I have talked about that. You know, having said that, there's still some good quarterbacks on Alabama's schedule. You didn't mention Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. He's going to be a load, I think, this year. Obviously, Marshall and Wallace, two guys coming back. But he did a good job. But there'll be some quarterbacks on this schedule, even as good as Alabama is on defense, that can give them some trouble.
Yeah, and also let's keep in mind, too, the offense. Yeah, they were kind of keeping it basic for the defense and so forth. And on the flip side, the defense was not, you know, Coach Saban said that they weren't showing as much either. So I do think Cooper Bateman's made a lot of progress. And again, like I said earlier, I'm very impressed with the way he handled himself. He seemed to be very composed and seemed to be, you know, has really gained some confidence. And you know, Gary, the thing that leads me to is Lane Kiffin. I mean, just his reputation for developing quarterbacks, and I think the job that he's done with Blake Sims this spring, as well as Cooper Bateman, is very impressive.
All right, coming up, we'll discuss how the Tide softball team did this past weekend in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. That's right. You can still get through the program. Give us a call, 205-348-WVUA. Email us or tweet at us. We want to hear from you. We want to talk some more Alabama football, basketball, whatever's on your mind. Stay with us. Crimson Tide action on Tider Insider TV. More after this. Mixed reviews for Alabama softball last week in Montgomery on Wednesday night. They lost to rival Auburn 6-2, but bounced back to go to North Carolina and beat Georgia Southern in North Carolina on Friday. Their game against North Carolina was rained out on Saturday. They're 7th in the nation. All right, let's go right back to the phones and talk with our buddy Gary in Fayette. Hey, Gary, how are you?
I'm fine. How y'all?
Very well.
Oh, I just like that. So Alabama's kicking game going to be a problem again.
Well, they got some work to do based on what I saw on Saturday. I mean, first of all, Alton Morris, I thought, did a good job considering he's a quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be your regular putter. If he is, then you know, I got some concerns there. I still like Griffith as a kicker. Did not have a good day, but I still think he's going to be okay.
Well, you know, when I look at it, you're talking about the punter. J.K. Scott was recruited for a reason. I mean, he's just not here right now. From Denver Mullen, he'll be here in the fall. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to win that job. I think also, you know, they're going to have some walk-ons. Tuck Borey, who is a Class 6A Super All-State punter from Hoover, is another guy that's going to come in and compete. And, you know, Gary, as I've said before, Cody Mandel, the year he got here as a walk-on, they'd signed Jay Williams, and you know, Mandel punts for 4 years, and Jay Williams never really punted. So you never know what can happen. As far as Griffith's concerned, I'm with you. I think he's got a lot of leg talent. I think he's got the ability. You know, I think when he gets himself comfortable, maybe psychologically, I think that he kind of seems to be in a slump, but I think he's got a lot of ability.
All right, thanks for the call from Fayette. Real quickly, let's go to Charles in Sylacauga. Charles, we got to hurry. What's up?
Yeah, what Nick Saban's going to do to get this offense turned around? You know, they look pretty bad on A-Day.
Well, Charles, he said it earlier. You know, they weren't really that concerned with putting on a big offensive show and highlighting guys. They're going to be okay. I mean, I know that it was not the most electric offensive performance, but there's a lot of weapons on that offense. Got to shore up the offensive line. Got to find a quarterback, but running back, tight end, receivers, a lot of playmakers.
Yeah, and again, I think, you know, you're talking about the offensive line, Gary. If they get that where they should, where we're expecting it to be, and certainly a quarterback comes around, they've got all those skilled people. I think they've got an opportunity to be really explosive.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for the emails. Coming up, we'll take a look at this week's UA Athletics calendar, plus discuss, well, I don't want to call it a feud, but maybe a little difference of opinion between a couple of former Crimson Tide quarterbacks. It's turned into a beautiful evening here in Tuscaloosa on the University of Alabama campus. Stay with us. We're back after this. Oh, look at what's going on this week for Alabama. Both baseball and softball in action tonight. And then baseball has an important series at Tops in South Carolina this weekend, while softball welcomes Georgia to town. Well, Greg McElroy got started with his new gig this weekend as an analyst for the SEC Network. He was in Tuscaloosa. And you know what? On a radio show, he said that he was a little bit in disagreement with A.J. McCarron. A.J. said again that younger players had become complacent. McElroy said that in his opinion, A.J. and the other team leaders should have kept that from happening, but he did go on to praise A.J. for the career he had and the accomplishments that he put together as the Alabama quarterback. Well, it is time to close it out. You'll notice, as always, Rodney and I are outfitted in original elephant wear from the locker room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. Visit them on the University Strip or shop online. I tell you what, the original elephant wear and all of their other fine clothing is available either in person at their store or online. And we're going to leave you tonight with an annual event. One team's very, very happy, one team not so much. The white team got to dine on steak last night, while the Crimson team had to eat beans and franks, but there was a lot of beans and franks, and it's really not that bad. Hey, you can watch our show again anytime you want on our website, WVUA.com. Have a good night, everybody.